You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. I'm glad that you're here with us. We're live at CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming live, excuse me, at cklu.ca on the internet, on the web, on our webpage. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us, listen to us that way, or download the Radio Player Canada app and take us with you. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We've been around since 1984. That is CKLU. Started from a humble trailer on Ramsey Lake Road at the Laurentian University campus, and then graduated, I guess, in recent years to be in the old Telegraph building on the corner of Elgin and Elm Street, all part of the new MacEwan School of Architecture, all under the umbrella of Laurentian University. We're your campus and community radio station. And this is your chance to have your conversation on your station each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. We're glad that you're able to do that. We're able to, and we're grateful to facilitate that conversation, which I think is very important these days, more than ever, to be able to have a conversation. It's not easy. The conversation in some circles is already done. There's no more conversation. We're moving forward in some direction, whether or not people are ready for it or not. And buckle up, because it's going to be a heck of a ride, that's for sure. So, but we still, as we're going, I guess, down the hill, full speed ahead, we're still going to have the conversation of look how fast we're going down the hill. And really, should we have taken this route, as we're going down the hill, as we're feeling the effects of what we've decided to do as a society, locally and abroad. We'll just keep discussing it and questioning. I think it's good. It's happening. The people at high levels with much influence and power and whatever are going ahead with things. As I hear on the radio, it's just if you repeat something long enough and loud enough, it just becomes true, right? And so that's what we're seeing in our day today, predicted by many people over time. And whether or not it's true, as long as it keeps being repeated and many times, it will become true, because you can't get away from it. It's like interrogation. There could be an innocent person brought into an interrogation room, but if that person's in there for 24 hours being interrogated and not sleeping and not eating, not being allowed to leave, you did it. Eventually they'll say, sure, I did it. Just give me a cheese sandwich and let me go to sleep. I'm guilty. It's the same idea. So there's a lot of psychology involved in the world we live in, and a lot of people have been studying human beings and how we do things and how we could be made to do things. It's been studied for so long, and by so many people that are now able to put it into practice on a large scale. So it's interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that, I guess, a little bit later. But on a local level, our deep dive will be local today, but it also reaches abroad as well, and it'll do with the city's choice to during the pandemic to decide to have a mandate for everybody to take the experimental solution to the pandemic, and mandated everyone that you had to do it. The city found that there was no problem with that. Everything was exactly the way that it should have been. We'll discuss that article and that report. We'll compare it to community just right beside us and how they looked at it in one of their council meetings. And just look at the contrast. Two cities, about an hour and 15-minute drive away from each other. Same exact problem, same solution, but then afterwards, one city admitted, wait a minute, maybe we've gone too far. And the other city dug in its heels and said, no, we don't do anything wrong. Everything we've done is right. And there's no fault here. And you can just imagine which city that was that decided to do one. One was West Nipissing. The other was city of Greater Sudbury. We'll just contrast those two a little bit later. And we're going to dive into some weather. We'll have a little bit of a report on how the Wolves did over the weekend. We'll have your comments and much, much more. So stay tuned. It'll be a great show. Lots of local news to cover. A weekend happened. So I hope everyone's doing great. And we'll come back with after the sports and weather with your comments and news headlines and much, much more. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show today. And as usual, the Sudbury weather is brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It lands on our sudbury.news webpage, which aggregates all local content into one convenient location. So if you're wondering where to look for your news, local news, and Facebook has stopped sharing it, and that's the way you consumed your news before, all you have to do is go to sudbury.news, and it aggregates all the local news organizations' headlines and articles into one convenient location right on the homepage. You just go through it, and there's CTV, Sudbury.com, CBC, Northern Ontario, Sudbury Star. They're all there. So currently it's 7 degrees out there. It feels like minus 12. It's mostly cloudy. Today we can expect the same, cloudy, 30% chance of flurries early this morning. And high of minus 5. Wind chill will feel like minus 14 in the morning and then minus 9 this afternoon. Tonight, more clouds, cloudy. And wind chill will feel like minus 14, although it will be minus 8. So tomorrow, overcast and temperature steady near minus 6. But with the wind chill, it'll feel like minus 14. Again, right? So low of minus 14 with the wind chill, but it will be minus 6, overcast tomorrow. Wednesday, sunny, minus 8. Let's hope that is going to be true. Thursday, 60% chance of flurries with a high of minus 2. Mix of sun and cloud predicted for Friday with a high of minus 1. And then a chance of rain, showers, or flurries for both Saturday and Sunday. 30% for both days. High of plus 1, high of plus 2 on those 2 days. So mixed bag of weather during the beginning of December. Nothing new here. It's the way it goes when you live in Greater Sudbury, Northern Ontario. We experience weather. So here's a look at your satellite if you're on the radio. Just a bit of clearing coming through from Northern Ontario all the way down to about Sault Ste. Marie in the shape of a V, pretty much. And we'll get a little of that clearing tomorrow. But other than that, it's cloudy everywhere. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little Wolves update and then headlines, your comments, and much, much more right after this. All right, so the Wolves were in action on Friday and Sunday, and we were in Sudbury on Friday. A really wild game. Dvorsky, Sudbury's latest acquisition, he went in the first round of the NHL draft, part of the Goyette Musty line. Got a hat trick on Friday, against Barrie, but it was a wild game. We had a huge lead, got chopped down, so it was 6-5 at one point. We changed our goalies. Krawchuk came in net, and we ended up winning the game 9-6. So that was the second game in a short while, where we got 9 goals against London a few days before that. It was 9-2. So the crowd starts chanting 10, 10, 10 after you get 9 goals. That's I guess that's the latest here. So high scoring games this season, not only in the OHL, the NHL as well. A lot of goals. There's something in the air, something in the water, a lot of goals. Anyways, so we won that one. Unfortunately, we lost yesterday in a shootout, 5-4 against Mississauga. But Mississauga is one tough customer, so we ended up getting a point out of that, and I think we're grateful for that. But this Wednesday, we're going to be back in action against Highway 17 rival to the west. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds will be in town on Wednesday. We'll have more on that on tomorrow's show, the details about who's sponsoring, what you can expect at the game, if there's any themes, things like that. But anyways, make sure to get your tickets, 7:05 puck drop on Wednesday against the Sioux Greyhounds. We'll be back with your comments, local news headlines, and much more right after this. Okay, so I hope everyone's having a great Monday today. December the 4th, I can't believe it. 21 days until Christmas. Christmas always seems to creep up on me every year, and it just seems like it's always just about Christmas time with all the stresses and things that go along with it, the hustle and bustle of the time of year. And stressful time for a lot of people, not just me. So a few people joining us this morning. First to the Facebook party, as usual, it's Judy. Good morning, Judy. And Marianne coming in. Hello, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us, Marianne. Lise, good morning. Also, Marianne says, liked and shared from Barrie, for sure. It was an interesting, wild game on Friday against Barrie. I'll tell you that much with the Sudbury Wolves. Very wild. The fans got their money's worth, that's for sure. So Belinda, with her morning kind of quote of the day, you'll just keep crashing if you never take your eyes off the rearview mirror. Keep looking ahead. That's an interesting comment there. You'll just keep crashing if you don't take your eyes off the rearview mirror. Keep looking ahead. I think of that often as a kind of parallel to the way life is, because in my car I do sometimes look back in my rearview mirror. Depending, right? I'm always conscious of the road and who's on the road and whatever. And I do think, okay, that's enough. I've seen who's behind me. I know what's going on. I just keep looking ahead, because if you're looking behind you, you're obviously, there's things going on ahead of you that are much, much more important than what's behind you. Although you do have to pay attention, learn from the past, but you definitely have to keep your eye on the future. And so that's just a great quote that I think about quite often too. So thank you for that. Denise, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us, Denise. Also, Maurice, which rhymes with Denise. Good morning. Smiley emoji. So Belinda says this is dark entity that is coming down. Their time is running out, and it all has to play out for all to see. Okay, I guess the beginning we're talking about, decisions that people are making as we are moving forward. We're a lot of times not driving the big bus. We can drive our little bus that we're in control of, but there's many people in charge of driving the big bus, and they're driving it, and we're heading somewhere. We'll have to see where it goes. Round and round, nobody knows. Belinda says people that participated in the Great Deception will have their that's a good word for the morning for me. The commupence. Yeah, it's a little early for for newer words for me. I do know a lot of words, but sometimes ones strike me but it's a cool word anyways. I would think they're going to get theirs. one day there's going to be a day of reckoning. I would think that's what that translates to. Okay, so let's see here. And I'm sorry for clearing my throat on the radio. I know that'd be very irritating for some, but again, I'll just reach for that mute button next time. Okay, thanks. Civil suits coming for all council members. Oh, I did not realize this. It was actually criminal that what council did. It's coming. And good morning, y'all. That's from Jerome. I did not know that there was a civil suit coming for council members to do with the policies we had during COVID, right? The mandates for all city employees. And we'll get to that. We're going to be getting to that as our little bit of a deep dive today, because the city released a report, and we'll look at that. We'll look at how that contrasts compared to our neighbors to the east in terms of North Bay and West Nipissing. So Marianne says, "Oh, really? Okay. I wonder if they disappeared for everybody." Okay, good. They're back. Excellent. Not sure, eh? There's a lot of weird things that happen with technology. You wonder if it's on purpose. Is it a glitch? You just never know. But we continue on. We move forward. A few checks to the rearview mirror, but that's about it. Liette says, "Good morning from chilly, a chilly and winter morning in Collingwood." Yes, very chilly here as well. Pam on YouTube, "Good morning, Sudbury." Heart emojis, much appreciated. Hope you're having a great day. Marianne, "Snowy in Angus, Ontario." And that's, Angus. Great place. A lot of my family settled there in that area, and then migrated up to Manitoulin Island. They came from Scotland. They did their thing in southwestern Ontario, came up the Bruce Peninsula, I think got on a ship, came to Manitoulin, and settled there. One of the first settlers, people that weren't there already in terms of Indigenous people. So, Pam, my favorite quote: "It doesn't matter if your glass is half empty or half full. Just be grateful for that you have water." For sure, I do that a lot of times. I start complaining about everything, and it's good to be grateful. It's very good to be grateful. We have many things to be grateful for. Well, I almost got to the mute button in time. Okay, so good morning, Louise. Everyone, this chilly Monday morning definitely is. Miles, earlier you must have been discussing the arbitrator's decision between the city and the union who put in grievances. Yes, it's the report that's out. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show, and we'll be contrasting that with North Bay's how they dealt with everything and what they felt about it afterwards. Good morning, Diane. Thanks for being with us. And Denise as well. Good morning from Espanola. Blessings on this day. And Marianne, also, Angus has really grown. Definitely has. Especially since my ancestors were there, for sure. Definitely. Just a beautiful, beautiful area. All southwestern Ontario is just, it's its own thing. It's amazing. Love Northern Ontario. There's certain pockets that are just special for different reasons of geography. For some reason, you wonder why, but it just is. I think there's a lot of places in the world that are special in their own ways, and that's definitely true for a lot of southwestern Ontario. So here we go. Let's look at, okay, Lynn says, "Good morning from McCarrow," not too far from where I am right now. So it's a chilly day across Ontario, regardless of where we are in Ontario. So let's look at, we have some headlines here. Sudbury.com has good morning stories to start your day, which also lands on our Sudbury.news Facebook page. We'll just check, or not Facebook page, but website. Here's one, as we've been talking about businesses being expropriated from the downtown to make way for city projects. Good morning, Sudbury campers. Brian, good morning to you. So Sudburyans say goodbye to a historic Golden Grain Bakery. Sudburyans lined up on Brady Street yesterday morning as they said goodbye to a Sudbury institution, Golden Grain Bakery, while at the same time hoping to stock up their freezers with their favorite breads, cookies, and other baking goods. On October the 24th, the City of Greater Sudbury announced plans to purchase the Golden Grain building. So, along with several other downtown Sudbury buildings, which led to the bakery's decision to close the doors for good today. While customers who'd made it through the line packed into the Golden Grain storefront, the production area had also had a respectable crowd, as it was all hands on deck as the last baking went into the oven and family members and past employees dropped by to pay their respects. So a lot of times, this is a polarizing decision that the city has made, and there's good and bad points on both sides, as there usually is. In order to go ahead with progress, or if you want to call it that, some people would argue it's not progress, but anyhow, in order to go ahead and even think about building a new arena, which there are a lot of good arguments for a new arena in the city. There are many people who are opposed. I think there's more people who are for it, but there are still many people who are opposed to it. In order to build something, you need to deal with what was there previously. And every city has to deal with it. It's nothing new. It's not like Sudbury's going around doing something that's not done already in other cities. In order to build new buildings, you can't just build over them, like have them be under the new building. Like, you have to deal with it. So this is one way to do it. And Wacky Wings is another example of that. They've dug in their heels a bit. And so I think I'd like to reach out to the owners of Wacky Wings and see how they feel about it. It's obviously different than the Golden Grain Bakery owners. And they are actually a newer player in town, right? And they didn't want to, to go along with the city's new plans and whatever. And I can see why. But I've never heard their comments yet in the media. I haven't come across it, whether or not they have spoken to media on their feelings about it. Golden Grain owners have at length to many local news outlets, but I haven't heard anything from the Wacky Wings people yet. So Pam says, I have always found it odd that Sudbury said to be Northern Ontario when technically it is Central Ontario, and that is 100% right. We are technically Central Ontario for sure. I believe Thunder Bay would have the crown to be in the largest center in Northern Ontario. They could be deemed Northern Ontario, no problem. But yeah, I think we are, if you look at a map, we're pretty central in terms of the geography of Ontario. We're months away from the 193 countries to sign off their sovereignty. That's from, I don't know why the other one didn't come up. So that's from Denise. Okay, so I didn't know of that. If you can send a link or two. We are months away from the 193 countries to sign off their sovereignty. Okay, that would be a big deal. Send me something in Messenger or on email. I'd appreciate that. I probably am familiar with what you're referring to, but again, so many things going on. Things are coming at us from all angles these days. There's so much to be on top of, not only locally, but in the world. So I appreciate that. Brian, Golden Grain, bye-bye, old friend. Goodbye, old friend, for sure. We're months away from the WHO and 193 countries signing away their sovereignty for their gain. Okay, so it has to do with the WHO. I don't doubt it. Marianne was sudden that Golden Grain was closing for good. Too bad they didn't relocate. It was part of the community for so long. Yeah, and I do think there's an opportunity for them to relocate. I'm not sure if they are going to do it. You're making the statement that you believe it was done illegally, expropriating lands that would be from Sudbury businesses. I'm thinking, help the people. Arenas are for a small percent of people right now. People before the arena. That's Denise chiming in on that, and many people feel the same way you do about it. So, thanks for your comments, everyone. Much appreciated. Um, so, on a more out of this world angle, astronaut Chris Hatfield was in Sudbury visiting Snow Lab, and he took in a Wolves game as well. Retired Canadian astronaut Chris Hatfield created a buzz during a visit to Sudbury Thursday and Friday. He was in town as part of a group of 6 friends who are alumni of the Young Professionals Organization, the YPO. Okay. The friends spent time at NORCAT and Snow Lab, and Mayor Paul Lefebvre took them to the Sudbury Wolves game on Friday night. A spokesperson for Snow Lab confirmed, thank you so much, Commander Chris Hatfield and friends in the YPO forum for joining us for a memorable day underground. It said in a post on Facebook from Snow Lab. Great company and great questions. You will always be welcome back, as well as touring the facility. Hatfield signed books and posed for selfies during his visit to Snow Lab. The facility spokesperson said the Sudbury Wolves also shared a photo on their Facebook page taken by Sudbury radio station Pure Country. Also, the play-by-play personality on CKLU, Brian Cooper, is also the morning person at Pure Country. Does a great play-by-play for the Sudbury Wolves on CKLU, which showed Hadfield appearing on the big screen during the December 1st game. Guess you could say there's a star in the building tonight, said the Wolves Facebook page. So yes, he was at the game. Pretty cool stuff. Again, these are the things you see when you go to Sudbury Wolves games. So it's a way to bring the community together. And as people, dignitaries and what have you, come into the city, we also do our best to show them a great night out. So kudos to Mayor Paul Lefebvre for taking them out to the game. I wonder what they thought about our wolf every time we scored. Did you get their take on it? You know, is it a thing that just people from Sudbury have nostalgia about and want it to stick around? Or is it something that people definitely on the other side fear? The Wolves coming out on the clothesline every time we score. Is that something that instills fear and awe into the Sudbury Wolves opponents? Or is it time to retire the wolf and have them behind a glass cage or whatever, and look at it like you would in a museum? Monique says, "Good rising, y'all." You said all. I put the Y in front of it. Good morning, all. Monique, thanks for joining us. Much appreciated. So yeah. So anyways, new building will. When we build a new arena, are we going to bring the old wolf in and put him back up with the clothesline to have him coming on out every time there's a goal? That'll be a big debate. It's a lot of things to debate here in Sudbury, and that's definitely one of them. So many people remember being a child looking up in awe at it, and then now have continued the tradition to bring their children out to see the wolf come out on the clothesline. And is it just nostalgia, or is it actually a really cool thing that needs to continue the tradition on every time the Wolves score? So anyways, it's a neat discussion. We'll come back to that, I'm sure. There's going to be a road closure if you have travel by Coppercliff, Tuesday the 5th, which is tomorrow, Tuesday December 12th, which is the following Tuesday. So the city put out a news release, or the valet did. It's going to involve maintenance and construction work on the new highway voltage power line conductors to the hydro substation on south headframe of Coppercliff Mine. And anyways, so there's going to be some traffic interruptions for 20 minutes at a time, 3 times on December 5th and 3 times on December 12th. Additional closures may occur on the 6th, which is the Wednesday, the 7th, which is, the Thursday, 13th and 14th, if needed. So here's a lot of dates that if you travel that way, you can expect some delays there. So you may want to see if you can take alternate routes. So yeah, we lit the tree as well the other day. I believe it was it Friday night and before the game? We lit our Christmas tree, counting down from 10 in both official languages. Greater Sudbury Mayor Paul Lefebvre flipped the switch on the Merry and Bright tree. The Merry and Bright tree. In the courtyard of Tom Davies Square on Friday, the Merry and Bright tree is an artificial spruce standing 26 feet tall and 12 feet in diameter. It is lit with 1,325 high-efficiency, warm, white LED bulbs, which accomplish 80% energy savings compared to traditional incandescent bulbs. It will now be lit until the week after Orthodox Christmas. The tree lighting event included entertainment from the Nickel City Sound and Black Bull Moose singers, as well as hot beverages, cookies, and fudge, which were gobbled up in short order, as I am sure it would have been. Anyways, I watched a little bit of a live stream, but the sound went off halfway through, so was only able to hear, half of the festivities, if you will, the tree lighting ceremony. So hopefully, it was a good time. I couldn't see how many people were out there. It sounded like a little crowd anyways, so that's good. There's one comment on the live stream, so there weren't many people, and that could have been due to the sound. Good morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us, my friend. So good comments coming in here, everyone. Make sure to read those, putting them up on the screen, so that way they live forever in the video afterwards, because Facebook sometimes says they'll just put up the most relevant comments after a live stream. They do not keep all comments for some reason, and they get to choose which ones are relevant and which ones are not. So let's see here if there's any other headlines we may have not gotten to from Sudbury.news, and then we'll flip up to the first headline. So live Christmas trees are getting more expensive. Obviously, everything's getting more expensive. We'll have to let Chrystia Freeland know that, because I don't think she got the memo. I just think that's an interesting thing after the fall financial report given by Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister and the money person of Canada. So she said everything's bright, everything's looking good. Inflation's coming down, policies are working, Canada's in great shape. But apparently every day on my drive, if I'm listening to talk radio or anyone talking, they're always like, here's tips to handle the inflation because we have less money now and it can only go so far. And a lot of people are facing, financial hardships, and that's all the stories are about all the time. But I don't know, I guess either we're wrong or she's wrong. Either we got more money and everything's great, or the news is right and everyone's suffering and going through financial hardships. So I'm not sure what she was talking about there, but it is what it is. Sudbury, we got a new improvement plan for the city. I don't know if you knew that or not, but CTV's got the scoop on this, and I got it all queued up. So yeah, Sudbury's got a new improvement plan. So let's just check in with CTV. That is CTV Northern Ontario, and that has this story for us.
The City of Greater Sudbury has launched its Employment Land Community Improvement Plan as a way to stimulate growth and to attract new development on industrial lands. According to officials, it's the first of its kind for the city. It involves financial incentives to property owners or tenants with projects that strengthen and diversify the community's industrial sectors. A special focus will be put on increased employment and investment. The program will provide projects with a tax increment equivalent grant. It will subsidize 100% of the municipal portion of the increased new tax assessment value on the completed project for a 3, 5, 7, or 10-year period based on a point system.
It's about truly creating the growth here and certainly welcoming growth in our community. And that's about providing these incentives to these businesses. And basically, what it is in a nutshell, whatever municipal taxes they were paying before, after they've completed their investments, over a period of time, we're going to increase their taxes. It won't happen overnight. The year after they're done, the full new assessment will take place. It'll be done over either 3, 5, or 10 years, depending on the size of the investment that they're doing.
Points will be awarded to a project based on the number of jobs created and retained in Sudbury. Additional points will be awarded if they're considered a strategic industry such as clean tech, life sciences, tourism, or film.
Yeah, so they're going to have certain industries, looking at helping them out more than others. I mean, we should have been doing this a long time ago to try and bring business to Sudbury. And one way we can do that, one thing we can control is taxes and fees, permit fees, you name whatever fees there are that we charge. If a business is going to come to the city, we give them tax incentives to bring them here. It's more favorable for them to decide to come here. It just makes sense, right? And then going forward, like the mayor said, then eventually you start weaning them off and they pay tax just like anyone else, But at first, to bring them here, they need some kind of reason. And there's a lot of other cities out there that are vying for these businesses, and they'll take them before us. Like, if we don't do something like that, they will. And so if you have a business and you're looking at where to establish it, and Sudbury even looks like a great place because of our labor force and being in close proximity to the mines, let's say, if that's something that your business will benefit from, you need to give them incentives to be here. You can't just expect them to foot all the costs. So good on Sudbury for at least thinking along those lines and putting something in place that looks something like that. So we just came out with keeping with the city of Sudbury, we just came out with a report here that Miles was alluding to. We'll just bring that up here. It's the first story today on Sudbury.News' news aggregator. The headline is Greater Sudbury Vaccine Policy Was Reasonable. Arbitrator Rules. So let's just see that. That is from Sudbury.com. Greater Sudbury Vaccine Policy was reasonable. Okay. And the same as various other COVID-19 vaccination policies employed by such organizations, the City of Greater Sudbury's policy was above board. A labor arbitrator has ruled. The COVID-19 vaccine policy of Greater Sudbury, employed throughout the heart of the pandemic, was above board. The arbitrator has ruled the vaccination requirement under the policy was reasonable, a reasonable exercise of the city's management rights at all material times. Arbitrator Kevin Burkett ruled in a matter of arbitration between QP Local 4705 and the City of Greater Sudbury. In his ruling, Burkett found it was also reasonable that, and a few bullet points here. So 1, the city required that employees become fully vaccinated by November 15th, 2021, failing which they rendered themselves unable to work and therefore to be placed on unpaid leave. For the city to require employees to be able to return to work by January 17th, failing which they would become absent without leave. So again, they said, okay, you got to get vaccinated by November 15th, or else you're going to be deemed unable to work, placed on unpaid leave. Okay? And then you can return to work January 17th, 2022. And if you don't come back, then you're going to become absent without leave. Okay. For the city, for the city, I'm just reading it off Sudbury.com here, not to have considered unvaccinated employees or former seasonal employees eligible to return to a position with the city in May 2022, at which time the vaccination policy remained in effect. Burkett ruled that the city COVID-19 vaccination policy did not violate the collective agreements, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Human Rights Code, subject to individual claims for accommodation which were not addressed. Okay, so this wasn't individual claims. I guess just on a mass scale, he said, Human Rights Code, they weren't in violation of that. The Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, they weren't in violation of that, or the Labor Relations Act. Burkett's ruling disposes of all policy, group, and individual grievances pertaining to the city's vaccination policy, minus Human Rights Code claims. Okay, so there's still Human Rights Code claims whose potential accommodations were remitted to parties for discussion. Burkett cited precedent from Canada Post, Coca-Cola, Purelator Canada, and Bunge Hamilton Canada in supporting a vaccination policy. So if everyone else is doing it, it's okay, right? So if everyone jumps off a cliff, then it's fine. So he's citing, so whether or not they did anything wrong, it's okay for the city to do it because other companies did it too, right? All right. The City of Greater Sudbury's vaccination policy was released September 2021 and remained in effect till May 1st, 2023. This spring, it was still in effect. Of the 51 city employees who lost their jobs as a result of declining to adhere to the city's vaccination policy by refusing COVID-19 vaccines, 50 were unionized and 1 was non-union. Of the 50 unionized employees, City Corporate Services General Manager Kevin Fowke, again, Fowke, told Sudbury.com that in May that 14 of them didn't challenge the city's decision to terminate their employment, oddly enough, and are believed to have moved on. The one non-union member was believed to have moved on. One person received an exemption on human rights-related religious grounds. Affected employees were from across various departments, and 21 were volunteer firefighters. So that was never really mentioned before. We talked about it on the show, but not in the news. You know how we had the volunteer firefighter situation where we never had enough, and enough of them to man the fire stations? Well, 21 of those were volunteer firefighters who refused the experimental solution to the pandemic, to refuse an experimental drug to be mandated to them, or they would lose their positions. So they opted not to receive that. And so then we started having more of an issue with manning fire stations, which really wasn't looked at enough and talked about enough. The same with our nursing shortages. Do we ever mention how many couldn't do their jobs now because of these policies? No, they're not mentioned. There's all kinds of other things mentioned, but that's never mentioned of how that impacted our healthcare system, period, right? So not as in the news as it should be, because it's not in the news at all. But here we're talking about it. So Burkett ruling responded to a number of grievances which related to an alleged unreasonableness and application of the city's vaccination policy. So there you go. Nothing wrong, nothing to see here. However, the West Nipissing looked at it a little bit differently in their meeting, a long time ago, right? So headline here, Councillor Ann Tessier, who's a councillor in West Nipissing, said the town's vaccine mandate caused a lot of unnecessary harm and animosity within their workforce and their community. So it's interesting, right? They must be made of a different material, or the different kind of human being, I guess. I'm not sure, but two totally different points of view on how these things were handled and what they ended up doing to them and what they took away from it, right? So she believed that the vaccine policy was mistakenly adopted 12 months ago from when they adopted it. She said it in a video that's now not found on mainstream news, and Twitter accounts were taken down that had the video of her just apologizing, right? But we were able to find it on a service called Rumble. So they don't take things down like they used. They just, if you put it up, you put it up, and it's there. So this is a council meeting that wasn't allowed to be up on Twitter for some strange reason, where the councillor is just apologizing for the way that they went about the vaccine mandates, right? So compared to Sudbury, how does North Bay view it? This is
Whereas at the
a while
meeting held
ago.
on December 20th, 2022, Council agreed with staff's recommendation to rescind the municipal vaccination policy number 2022/18. Be it therefore resolved that the vaccination policy number 2022/18 is hereby rescinded effective immediately.
Questions or comments? Councillor Tessier?
I would like to just make a comment, if I could
Okay.
read. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge that this policy caused a lot of unnecessary harm and animosity within our workforce and community. I believe that this policy was mistakenly adopted 12 months ago. The general population knows that today that the COVID vaccine doesn't stop the spread of the virus. 12 months ago, the municipal council was well aware that the spread did not correlate with vaccination status prior to this policy being adopted. A constituent had presented to council the Public Health Ontario data showing that by January 2022, there were equally or more cases reported per capita in vaccinated people versus unvaccinated people. Unfortunately, the outcome of the vote from the municipal council resulted in the implementation of this punitive policy. With all my heart, I extend my apologies to those who were affected negatively by this policy, and I hope that as a municipality and a community, we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement.
So thanks, Miles, too, for setting the record straight. That is not North Bay. It is Sturgeon Falls and other communities that make up West Nipissing. So thank you very much for that clarification. And I did know that. It's just early in the morning, I guess. So anyways, look at the different ways that those two communities, our community and their community, handled the very same thing, right? You would think, well, what's the difference? Like, why is one community apologetic and the other one digs in its heels and says, we didn't do anything wrong. Sure, you lost your job, but it's your fault. We did everything right. That's Greater Sudbury, right? Sound familiar? And I always thought that a good apology was really good public relations myself, like showing empathy to people that were affected, by things. I don't know. Have you ever lost your job before? Not a very good thing. Have you ever been forced to take some kind of experimental drug that hasn't been proven yet, and then you lose your job because of it? Probably not, unless you've been through it. Probably take some. What if you had, like I have in my family, those that are very susceptible and very prone to reactions from these particular methods of medicine, that are injected into our bodies and have caused very much damage previously. What if that was the case? They have no choice. They got to take it. You take it. Even though you're going to be adversely affected for the rest of your life, you need to take it or you're going to lose your job, right? So Sudbury says, yeah, that's the way we do things around here. And we're okay because look at this. This arbitrator totally believes with us, believes exactly what we were doing as well. So we didn't do anything wrong and no apology whatsoever. So there are no apologies here. Everything we do was right in terms of this. So, but a really different take from West Nipissing, right? To me, that just sounded right. They had the same policy. They did it, and then they afterwards realized what it did to people, and they were within their rights to refuse it. Like health, your health. Should you be told to eat chicken noodle soup? If you don't eat chicken, yeah, but I'm allergic to chicken noodle soup. Who cares? You got to eat chicken noodle soup because my grandmother says it's good for you. You got to take it. Everyone else is taking it. No, but I'm allergic to it. And my throat closes up every time I have chicken noodle soup. Who cares? You got to take it or you lose your job. You know what I mean? So whatever. So not everybody has the same constitution. Some people are more susceptible to other things. And when it comes to health, these people are probably more grateful that they have their health than even their jobs. And it's a hard thing to go through. But have you ever heard the saying? You could be a billionaire, but if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? You can be a sickly billionaire sitting in a hospital bed, not able to do anything. But what would you rather have? Your health or $1 billion, right? But you talk to very sickly billionaires and they'll tell you exactly how they feel about it. So that's the news for today. That's the deep dive. We did it. It's done. So you can find these stories and more at Sudbury.news. You can have your own opinion about them too. So sharing everybody's opinion as we were talking about this, so you can go back and look at the show on demand, and you might have an opinion about it as well. So join the conversation afterwards as well, and it can continue all day, forever actually. So whatever you feel about this, and if there's some pretty good, cool insights, what side it's on, like whether you're for it or against it. If there's some really good insight, I'll do my best to read through what you have to say and share it on tomorrow's show as a follow-up. So thanks for being with us. We'll be back same time, same place, God willing, between 7:30 and 8:30 tomorrow morning, right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. So stay tuned now for your Shot Daily. Thanks for being with us, everyone. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.